Good afternoon, I'm Jeff. I'm a Sewer Tech Northwest. Today we're at property address 364 Fairway Street here in Newburgh, Oregon. We're located at the left side of the home, just before the fence starts here. We've got a 4-inch ABS cleanout. This will be the point of access. I'm going to insert the camera and check the overall condition and serviceability of the sanitary sewer line. Currently have water running, and I'm going to zero out the camera counter right here at the base of the cleanout. Refer to this spot as the point of access. Here we go. Does a hard 90 there and heading out towards the street, Fairway Street. It looks like we have some standing water here in the line. Let's take a closer look at that on the way back out when the line's drained out. Unless the line has been cleaned here recently, there is almost no debris whatsoever in that water there, which is a good sign that most everything's making its way out to the main. And looks like there's possibly a root intrusion through the joint here. This is another spot we'll take a better look at when there's no water. We'll have a little bit better look at everything. And it does transition here at 22 feet from the point of access over to 4-inch PVC pipe. Should be approaching the main lateral here shortly. Okay, and here at 66 feet out, we have reached the main lateral out on Fairway Street. I'm going to get the water turned off, let the line drain out completely here, so we can have a better look at the belly and the possible root intrusion or something going on at the joint at the transition point at 22 feet. I've got the water turned off inside here. The house may be on an ejector system. I'm not entirely sure, but the way things are flowing out of here, especially after I've turned the water off, I think there may be a pump. So we're going to let this continue to drain out here for a minute. Okay, so I need to scratch the ejector pump idea. I went back into the house there, and the flap on the toilet I flushed had gotten stuck. So the line should now drain out. So there is no pump. While the line drains out here, I'm going to go ahead and reel back to the first possible issue at 22 feet. we're here at the transition joint, and I can see, looks like the joint is separated. I don't know that it's allowing water to seep out, but the pipe here on the right side, I'm looking at the left side, you can see where there's a gap in the joint, and water's kind of standing at it, so I think the joint on that side there still appears to be sealed because of the fern coat, but the right side of the screen here, it looks like it's really difficult to discern what exactly is going on here. It's possible, I can see some danglies coming right out of the plastic. Looks like a root has busted through the joint and kind of peeled the plastic out. That is what that appears to be. So I will, someone has already been out to locate and mark this. And because of that, because it does look like we've got roots that have come through there, I recommend repairing this, as roots will generally persist and get worse and worse over time and block the line. And if that joint keeps separating, you could also get water seeping out into the ground. There's a bunch of terraced hillsides here, so that would be, I don't know that that's happening right now, it's difficult to tell, but if it were to seep water out, there's a couple terraced hillsides, and the erosion from that could be kind of bad news. So I'm going to locate here and just double check the markings that are already on the ground. There's a big white X, I believe, right over the top of this. I'm just going to go ahead and double check that. Okay, I did locate the camera head here at the joint. We're about 10 feet deep. There's another, it looks like someone has mapped out the belly in the line also. The marking that I'm looking at currently is beyond the belly markings, towards the front of the property, right up next to where the little cinder block wall ends, and it's on the second terrace down. That, when you look at the property, it'll make sense. There's a big X marking there. I'm not entirely sure what that's for. My locator picked this up about 3 feet before that, so I'm not sure if that marking was for sewer or not. But if it is, I would recommend relocating, as on the hillsides like this where it terraces and it's up next to a wall, the line here parallels a retaining wall, and though that can affect the locate and depths. So with a property like this, I would recommend relocating to double check the depths. I'm going to push out here to make sure that, so I'm not sure what that marking there was for. I will mark mine with green paint. I'll put a green X there at 21 feet out. Yeah, and in this circumstance, because the line still has proper slope and grade, it's entirely possible that a jetter or auger could go through here and kind of trim that down so that it's flush, and then sleeve the joint rather than dig it up, and it's a very effective repair process. And that will seal out the roots as well as make sure that joint doesn't leak. I do highly recommend relocating here. It's just kind of a funky property. At least the front of it is. Lots of different terraces going on. And we're back here at the belly in the line. Now the water is all drained out as much as possible. The water line is holding right at the top of the camera head. The deepest it appears to get is about an inch of standing water. The water line never exceeds that, and it's kind of hard to tell, but the water line is just above the camera head here. Especially when you pull back a little bit and look down the pipe. You can see that the water line doesn't get all the way up to the top of the line. So in this circumstance, especially the line being 10 feet deep, and based on how much debris I see in here, you can see that the water is quite clear. Some of that stuff you see that it's floating around is because my camera's gone through here and kind of stirred some stuff up. It's a relatively short belly as well. It's from 13 feet here where it ends. So it's about a 4-foot section of the line here that's lost grade. And based on how much debris is here in the line, it doesn't look like this has been causing too terrible flow issues. With standing water like this, you always want to keep in mind not to put stuff like paper towels, flushable wipes, cleaning wipes, grease, stuff like that that doesn't break down in water. Things that you shouldn't put down the pipe is especially important in this circumstance because they saturate with water and become so heavy they don't move. And if you avoid stuff like that, the line should function just fine, especially based on the evidence here. There's very little debris in the line whatsoever. You could do a rescope in a year or two. Things like this can change depending on the amount of people in the household. You could do a rescope to see if there's any significant amount of debris that's built up after a year or two's time. And what you can do if there is buildup, you can do hydrojetting once every year or two, depending on if there's more buildup than there is right now. And that will keep all the debris buildup to a minimum. It totally cleans out the line. But based on what I'm seeing here, and especially if the line is 10 feet deep, the only way to correct this would be to actually dig down to it. And I think the cost benefit here in this situation is fairly little. So the joint beyond this, though, where it looks like the roots are coming through and it's separated, that's a different situation, but that can likely be fixed by sleeving. It's worth checking into that. But either way, I think it should be fixed as there's roots coming through there. But currently, the line looks like it's got adequate flow to the main lateral. There's almost no debris in the line, so it does appear to be functioning at this time. But the roots coming through the joint there could, if they continue to grow, could definitely change on whether this line keeps functioning or not.